We go.
Episode 18, part 3, The Wild Weird World of CK, and we're going to keep saying CK, but we're talking Charlie Kirk, just in case you didn't know. Quick note on my end, what is up with, I think we mentioned this before, but if we didn't, I'm going to say it right here for just a minute. Liberals, or people that I thought were liberals, who are trying to repaint his history as something that it's not. This was not a good person. This was not a nice person. This was not an honest person. And we have people, I have a friend that I lost because she kept saying, oh, why are you trying to call him a racist and a bigot and a blah, blah? Because he was. I'm sorry, he was. And you can see it every single video. Well, look at this video. Yeah, I watched it. How are you not seeing it? Okay,
well, I think you termed it correctly, liberal and neoliberal. And I think one of these episodes, we should go into that. We should go into the difference between a liberal, a neoliberal, a progressive, and a leftist, and how some of this stuff overlaps, and what Democrats are, which overlaps a lot of these different ones. And I think people are really confusing these terms. I think there needs to be these, I know I'm kind of going off here, but we need to start defining this stuff so we all know what we're talking about. But yeah, those are usually
because your point is that there are some people who fall into the Democrat camp that don't necessarily fall into this other stuff, and those are the people that I'm looking at going, where
those are liberals,
your problem?
Those are usually neoliberals, and they're capitalists, and they don't see a problem, and it's all based in white supremacy. So even Democrats, some of them would be center right in any other country in the world.
Yeah.
We don't have a left wing in America. That's what people don't seem to understand. But we'll clarify that one day.
Where it gets really nutty, and this is what Steve wanted to bring up, is that the irony, again, of the right wing saying, oh, political violence. And then not necessarily but then we have political violence from people who are upset about people who are attacking Charlie Kirk.
Right. And the political violence on their end started all this from the beginning, hundreds of years ago, with genocide and slavery and exploitation. That's the violence. Through what was called statistical violence, or what's that term?
Stochastic
terrorism. And that is violence that's been inflicted on people, along with, if you look at almost every single case of these mass shootings and everything else, it is somebody who was from the right, or has a background of right-leaning or right-leaning parents, or immersed in this ideology, and whatever else, maybe they had some small leftist idea that they had whenever they got violent, they were drawing upon this sick, violent past of America that's ingrained and embedded in our systems, in our society.
Anyway, I know we're getting to the story,
right?
And I don't mean to back to.
But this does tie into that violence.
The crazy thing, though, is people who claim that CK wasn't racist, when at the moment that the pew went through, the moment he was happening, he was throwing out in a statistic that has been thrown out for decades from Fox News that tries to make black people look violent.
Yes. He was
at that moment.
Racist dog whistles against trans and violent people.
Yeah.
And it was just so indicative of him. And people, once again, they are unaware they have no self-awareness, and they believe in this America myth that does not exist. They are brainwashed and delusional. And this does include a lot of liberals. Even though they might have some leanings towards expanding democracy, they might have some leanings towards equality, it's still all rooted in this white nationalism. And when they can't see it, like this individual, it's because they lack the self-awareness and the understanding. So
they're usually not as vocal about it as CK was. I believe my parents made some comment about, well, Martin Luther King had some good ideas, but he was a little bit too forceful or something. And it's like, what?
Yeah. You mean he wanted it right now?
Right.
What do you mean?
But
it's that kind of
where
and once you start questioning them, they make
so the story we keep dancing around is I will assume most of you know what I'm talking about. Look it up if you don't, because we're trying to keep things whatever with TikTok. But the term strange fruit, there have been some strange.
Well, here we go. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to preface this so they get an understanding of where we're going with this, because what they're doing is when he was, when he was taken out, it was framed that the left is violent, and this is what happens from progressives, or they don't even know what to call us or call anyone, but let's just say neoliberal, liberal, progressives, or the left, right? They like to say the left a lot, I think.
Anybody anti-Trump, let's just put it that way.
Right, anybody anti-Trump. They're the violent ones. And like we just said, that is not, like, rarely ever the case. Rarely ever is that truly the case. So once again, this is any type of reaction they get for their abuse, they project back and say that you're being the violent one, when in fact it's nothing more than a retaliation against the violence that's been inflicted. And normally, in the vast majority of cases, it's not violent in that nature. That violence stems from a sickness that's like throughout our society in general, across the board almost. But I don't want to make any false equivalences here, because the left are generally, and people that are on the left are generally far less violent, and they go about things in a much different way, a more democratic and a more thing. But they were talking about vengeance. They were talking about retaliation after this occurred. There was many people on the internet talking about how they're going to get anybody who just merely was indifferent or didn't like it or had something to say bad about him.
In fact, there were people who lost their jobs simply because they brought up the topic. Not necessarily because they said anything positive or negative, but just, yeah.
Right, just for bringing it up. Thousands of people lost their jobs. I was threatened, not only for like that they were going to dox me for my job and put me on a thing for that kind of a thing, but literally you live here? Okay, well, you better hope that nobody comes gets you. So that's basically a death threat. So, simply and all the only comment made is, yeah, that's what Charlie Kirk did. Simple as that. Made a blatant, true statement. True statement. And so let's get this straight. Who are the violent, extremely violent radicals? Who are the extremely violent radicals? The bullies who want to implement their idea of how the world should run on everyone else. And they're extremely violent and have been proven and convicted of violence so many times in the past. Or the people that are going, hey, we are not going to take this crap anymore. We're sick of your bullshit. So anyways, here we go.
Right. So
sorry to preface this so long, but I just want to make this so clear.
We could bring up a couple of different things. I think right now we're just going to focus on
two incidents,
or one or two. Where was the name? Trey Reed was one of the young black men found. Let's just say it, found in a tree, and the authorities are saying, oh, it was, self-unaliving, and anybody with common sense is looking at the fact that he had, a broken arm and several other things and saying, that's just not even possible, let alone, it just doesn't make any sense. So,
do you know any of the background? Because what happened was, in the first time, I don't believe the autopsy.
I know some of it, but I think you know it better than I do, so go ahead.
I don't know everything, but I probably should have read a little bit more, but... The original autopsy, or there wasn't even an autopsy or something like that, and they declared it, a self-inflicted situation. However, there was, who was it? Somebody said no, and said, we're going to get our own autopsy done. Come to find out, there was blunt force trauma to the head, back of the head, and broken
ribs and bones and such.
Something like that. Don't know all the full details. So now it appears that this was a homicide, but it looks like, and in the police force and the people that are involved in all this, they're like, one of them, I can't remember the whole situation, but I can't remember if it's this situation or the other one we're going to mention next with the two girls that got run over. But there's ties to like the guy, the person. No, I think that's the next one, because they did get the perpetrators. But what they ended up doing was their father was like chief of police or something. Maybe when we go to that one, you can skim through and tell me the total details. But so on this first one, yeah, it looks like this was probably, and what was this located? He was a student at a university, right? And once again, he was talking. He said something about Charlie Kirk that a lot of people didn't like. and it appears that they.
But what's interesting is this was not a black university. It was a university founded in 1925 as a predominantly white institution.
Yeah, so here he is, this kid saying stuff they didn't like, so they hung him from a tree.
Oh, Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's more and more looking like what happened there. So once again, they're the violent ones. They hear something they don't like, and they're literally going to take you out. Period. Yes, they're the psychopaths and the violent ones, and they project that onto other people who are simply trying to defend themselves from their violence. And I don't know how much more clear I can make this to anybody who's on the fence or anybody who doesn't get this, or has stayed out of politics as much as they could because they just wanted to go about their life and not have to deal with this.
Which to some extent I can appreciate, but
yeah.
Then the other one was in what did they say? New Jersey.
Yeah. So there's 2 teen girls were run over by an individual who I guess allegedly had some beef with these 2 girls. Because do you have names? Do you want to talk about it now? And I'll skim this over real quick. And what happened was they know who did this, and they have been arrested, and they're probably going to get murder charges.
Yeah, the perpetrator was also 17.
Yeah.
And had multiple counts with the law encounters. I mean, it's not
right.
like
So
the first
here's
time.
the sad part from what I remember from what I read previously, was that they had said some things that this individual didn't like, and I think this individual had a beef with these girls even prior to this. And what were their names? The 2 girls. So they ended up. So he threatened them.
Maria Niotis and Isabella Salas.
Right. And then this guy, allegedly, he had like some kind of platform that he was on in the internet, I believe. Is it saying?
It didn't mention that.
In the original one I sent you, it did.
Oh, okay.
So anyways, this guy had a platform on the internet. He
had tens of thousands of followers as a video game streamer, not a political.
Yeah, not as a political streamer. But then he went political, and then he started saying that he was going to go after these girls, and he did, and that's how he got caught. But so yeah, he ran them down once again, and I think his thing was gaming and sports or something. Yeah, it all makes sense. These far right gamers and stuff with these red pill and black pill gamers. That's the, I
primarily broadcasting on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. So he, I think that once again, this is just highlights.
And some of these gamer communities, if you're not a part of it yourself, it's. I don't even begin to. I don't even begin to understand it. But once you start to, it's really out there. I don't even know what else to say about that.
These people are wacko, and and I think when COVID hit, that just sent some of these kids spiraling into fucking la la land. Because they didn't go to school.
Because then they
just sat on their computer all day.
Normal outlet that you have that would push them outside of that bubble for a few hours a day was gone. Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole concept of people being real just escapes them at this point.
Well, it's like the way that especially when not necessarily when you're younger. If you spend too much time in the gaming world, you can lose track of the fact that. If you say something to a person, that's a real person.
Right. Or if you do something to a person.
Right. Yeah.
It's not an avatar on a game.
If you thought it through 20 different times in your head because of the game, and then you do it in real life, it's still real life. It's not still the game.
Right. And I think they're blurring these lines.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe. I think that's been happening for decades, but it's a more common phenomenon
among these younger kids who have just grew up on that. They have no other reference of reality. And in these rooms, in most cases, it's a bunch of guys, and they've really gone off the deep end because of this state of the society we live in.
Well, it's also, and I don't like to blame the technology, but the use of anonymous platform identification on social media platforms encourages people to say things that they would never otherwise say if you've actually had them in an actual Starbucks and said, "Hey, say that same thing that you just said." They would never say that same shit. Some of them, you know.
No, they don't. They can't dial it in when they're standing right there.
Yeah.
So,
but you get.
but
my
anyways, this is just, and it's not surprising. Not surprising at all. I'm surprised there isn't more of this. There probably is more. I just haven't heard of it. These are the two incidences I've come across in the last couple of weeks where it's proven that they were probably killed because of what they had to say about his death. Nothing else. They didn't inflict any harm on anyone outside of saying F. Charlie Kirk. But that's it. Even if they said that, I don't even know if
they might not have said that much. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how ridiculous these people are. That's how full of shit. How full of, hypocrisy they are. How they're just, can't be taken seriously as human beings at this point. And I find it so disheartening that there's still people like that person you said that you had to kind of cut ties with that exist out there who can't see it for what it is.
Well, and then in some ways, I'm glad it came up because, I mean, I thought this was somebody that I thought I respected, and we agreed on music and some of the other stuff. But once I started pushing the question about CK, she was like, "Well, why can't people with differing political views get along?" And I don't see what the problem is. And it's like, well, yeah, when it's how much should we be taxed for X, Y, or Z, that's one thing. But when it's why should this group get or not get civil rights, that's we're not going to agree to disagree on a point like that.
Should we not have democracy?
Yeah, and
should we be attacking cities?
Right. And then she had this bizarre thing of. I brought up, well, I couched it as, well, I would expect that you would have seen this a different way. And she was like, why? Because I'm a woman and a lesbian? I was like, well, actually, yes, because they're trying to remove your rights more than they are even mine.
Oh, the people who are against their own.
Yeah.
Look, they're in a trauma bond.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole nother discussion they have about how, okay, there's these other people that are in that situation, but then there's the ones who are traumatized.
I remember the really funny one is she made some comment about, oh yeah, well here where I live, there's some church people and they know that I'm a lesbian, but they're really nice. And I'm like, yeah, because
to your face,
right? Because either they're liberal Christians and they actually don't have a problem with you, or it's that whole what's the phrase? Bless your heart kind of thing.
Right.
It's surface
or
level. They don't actually
love the person but hate the sin or something,
which is bullshit.
Love the sin,
yeah.
But here's the thing with all that. Anybody who says that to you, I love you, I care about you, and then votes for people who take away their rights and inflict harm on them,
doesn't actually love you.
Doesn't care about you.
Right.
They literally don't care about you. They're full of shit. And you should recognize that.
They might not realize that, but it's true.
But that's the truth behind it. They can't if they vote for that. And people need to realize that if your family, your friends, and you're at the receiving end of this bullshit and you think they love you, I'm sorry, they don't.
Yeah, just because they're more polite about things does not mean that they like you.
Look, they'll say shit. And it's been attributed to this quote by James Baldwin. It's been attributed to him. I'm not sure if it is. He says, I don't believe what you say because I see what you do.
Yeah, exactly. Bingo. Yep.
I don't believe what you say.
I can't think
I
of
see what you do.
That's perfect.
So once again, here we go. We'll just end with that. So for these people and this stuff about us being violent and it's the left being violent and it's not them, you know what I have to say to that? Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I don't believe what you say because I see what you do.